Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care and Technologies. Make sure you check them out at rcandt.com. Also by Manscaped. Use the promo code TGT20. I am your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome my co-host, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. How about you?
All right. And our guest today is Sam Young, because, as you know, the only people allowed to be on the show have to have the first name of Sam. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
All right. But Sam Young told me last week, he said, I know more than Sam McGinnis, so I should be on here picking the games. So the pressure's on, Sam Young.
Got you.
All right. Sam Teets, you want to talk to us about all today's COVID activities in the NFL?
It's just crazy. I mean, we kicked it off at 5 o'clock this morning saying the Colts had returned some positive tests. So they shut down their facility. A couple hours later, it was revealed they were false positives. So they're back. They're allowed back in. They're going to have their game as scheduled. The Falcons didn't have any positive tests, so they're going to have their game as scheduled. And then within the past hour, the Patriots have shut down their facility because of a positive test. So, I mean, this is just like in the NFL at this point. They keep changing things every hour or so. Right now, we don't know what the Broncos-Pats is going to be played, but it sounds like every other team in the league is good to go.
Yeah, I think the teams that have COVID had to forfeit, because that would have been the chance for the Bengals to win a game this week, Sam Young.
Yeah, I don't know. All these COVID stuff going on right now is kind of – I feel like it's being blown out of proportion just a little bit, but I think they're just trying to keep it week by week because of the media and stuff like that. But I don't know about the Bengals this week. They're not looking too hot.
No, the Bengals never look too hot, Sam. All right, let's go ahead and let's start picking this week's game, since Sam Young said he was going to come on and beat us all, Sam Teets.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
I know, because Sam Teets can't even beat me, Sam Young. So –
well, I don't know where you're getting all this I'm going to beat everybody from. I never
you just said you were better than McGinnis. Okay.
I don't think I said it like that either. You
did say you knew more.
Well, I said that I made a comment at practice saying that if you put me on the show, that I would have a lot to say in regards to predictions.
All right. So let's start talking about them. This week we got the Baltimore Ravens, who will play against the Philadelphia Eagles, and it'll be in Philadelphia. The Ravens are coming off here. Really, Lamar Jackson's had a couple games in a row where he hadn't really played that well, Sam Teets.
Yeah, he's been struggling a little bit early in the year. It's reflected in my quarterback power rankings so far. He's towards the bottom of the top 10 at this point. But really, this is the opportunity for him and the Ravens to get hot. I mean, they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. The best unit on that team is possibly the defensive line. But really, Lamar Jackson has the agility and speed to counteract that. If they're going to have a big game, he's going to have a big game this year. This is really his chance to get out there and kind of get over the past couple of weeks.
All right, so when you're picking the game, Sam, who do you like?
Which Sam?
Teets.
Yeah.
Teets, you were supposed to give me the pick after I asked you the question.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore. I'll take Baltimore by 2 or 3 scores.
All right, Sam Young, do you agree or disagree?
I actually would have to agree with that. This was one of the easier picks for me, looking at all the matchups, just because the Eagles played a pretty decent game last week, but I just don't think that they have what it takes to beat Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I will agree, Lamar has been struggling a little bit, but I think based off of what we've seen over the course of Philadelphia's defense, I think that they have enough to get it done by at least a couple scores.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sticks out to me here is the Philadelphia Eagles opposing tight ends have racked up 32 catches for 323 yards and 5 touchdowns through 5 games. I think Mark Andrews is going to have a big game, which means Lamar is going to throw for a lot of yardage. And Carson Wentz, I think, is a good quarterback with no help right now. So I agree with you guys. I think this is a fairly easy game to pick. So I'm going to take the Ravens also. Next up, I think a game that's not easy to pick. And I'll start off with Sam Teets just because he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. which means he has low intelligence. And they play this week against the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns are 4-1, and this is a dangerous game for Pittsburgh, Sam Teets.
Yeah, this is probably the most worrisome game they had to play yet. I'm still going with Pittsburgh because I think they have enough defensively to slow down the running game. We saw it in the past couple of weeks. I mean, even against Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had, I think, 80 rushing yards, but 72 of them came on one play. The rest of the game, he had 10 carries for 8 yards. So to me, this is one of the best running defenses in the NFL, if not the best run defense in the NFL. The Browns rely heavily on Kareem Hunt in their running game. And when they have to rely on Baker Mayfield, he does what he did last week, which is throw 2 interceptions against the Indianapolis Colts. So to me, there's enough here defensively for Pittsburgh to convince me the Steelers have an advantage.
Yeah, but you're a homer too, since you're a Steelers fan. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh also.
Yeah, I was going to pick Pittsburgh.
So Odell Beckham Jr., we don't know if he's going to play or not. He tested negative for COVID, but he still wasn't at practice today. I don't trust Baker Mayfield enough to hit enough big throws, especially if OBJ is not there. So I'm going to go to safe route and take the Steelers. Sam Young, what do you think?
I think that the Browns offense has been pretty electric. I think that they've held their own even with the unfortunate injury of Chubb. I think that their running game is still kind of strong, but I am a firm believer in the Steelers defense. They have not let up a lot of percentage running yards. And honestly, I agree with you guys too. I think the Steelers might edge this one out. People could argue the fact that the Steelers have one less game played than the Browns, but I don't think that that's a heavy factor in this game. I think that this is definitely going to be a close game, but I think the Steelers are going to get the nod for me this week.
Well, Sam Teets, I would say this. If OBJ was sure to play and Nick Chubb was healthy, I would pick the Browns in this game.
And you'd still be wrong. But, I mean, look, I think –
yeah. How many times have I been wrong on this show compared to you, Teets?
All right, listen. We were pretty even last couple weeks, all right?
What I thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think if Chubb was healthy and you did have OBJ for sure, it'd be a very different lineup. And, yeah, Austin Hooper's had some issues too. So they've had a beat-up offense so far this year. I don't think we've seen the full extent to what it could be. And really, I'm thinking the Browns could get hot, maybe not until they get Nick Chubb back, but when they get him back on the field, this could be one of the best offenses in the NFL, so as long as Baker Mayfield can cut down the turnovers for once.
Well, he has cut it down when he's had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Last week, he's missing one of them, throws 2 picks. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings will battle the Atlanta Falcons and their new interim head coach, Raheem Morris, which every time I say it makes me want to chuckle to myself, Sam Teets. So, assuming this game is played because the COVID seems to really be after the Falcons, I don't think you can even have any faith in choosing the Falcons to cover this game. They're banged up. Quite frankly, they're not a very good football team, especially defensively. They'll be able to score some points. The Vikings have come off a brutal loss where I thought they did play well in Seattle. So I think Minnesota wins this game and they win it relatively easy, Sam Young.
Yeah, I would have to agree. The defensively for the Falcons, they've definitely caught the injury bug, and Matt Ryan had a very, very poor performance passing wise for last week. I am a Seattle fan, so I was on the edge of my seat all last week watching that game between the Vikings and the Seahawks, and that was a pretty intense game. But I will say that if Dalvin Cook can come back injury free, and if he can play this game, then I think that it's undoubtedly going to be the Vikings for sure.
All right, Sam Teets.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, outside of that one terrible game against the Colts, they've scored over 25 points per game. They really have a decent offense. Even when Dalvin Cook isn't in there, we saw him last week against Seattle, they were still able to run the ball effectively. And frankly, Atlanta's defense is worse than Seattle's. So there's really nothing holding them back here. I think they have enough pieces to just go out there and just beat the Falcons and offensively, even without a strong defense this year.
All right, Sam Young, Chicago Bears at the Carolina Panthers. I think going into this year, you would have expected this to be a matchup between a 1-4 team and a 2-3 team, but instead it's the 4-1 Bears visiting the 3-2 Panthers. I think it's safe to say both teams have overachieved this year. Who do you like in this game?
I do think that the Browns might have the advantage just because defensively they're past. The Bears. The Bears.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack did very well last game. Their pass rush was very good, but Teddy Bridgewater has definitely proven a lot of people wrong with his performance last week. So this is definitely one of the harder games for me to decide, but I think I'm going to give the Bears the nod on this one. I think that their defense will shut down the Panthers enough times, and I think that they'll, with their very few offensive weapons, in my opinion, I think that they will get it done.
All right, Sam Teets, do you agree or disagree?
No, I disagree there. I'm going with the team that has the better quarterback, and to me, that's the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater has been a borderline top 10 quarterback through the season so far, and they have some weapons there. They have Robbie Anderson. They have DJ Moore at receiver. So it's not like they don't have pass catchers. Even Mike Davis, I mean, he's filling in fairly well for them at running back, replacing Christian McCaffrey. He had a couple successful years in the past, especially when he was with Seattle a couple years ago. So to me, this is not a bad team. Their defense has overperformed so far. Now, I understand there's some fear in facing Khalil Mack with that maybe up in the air offensive line in Carolina. But at the same point, I just think this offense in Carolina is too talented. Bridgewater is too good to lose to Chicago.
I don't think they're too talented to lose to Chicago. I think that the Bears might slightly be the better team, but I think the Panthers right now are playing better. I think they are doing it with an offensive line that last week gave up hardly any pressures. I know it wasn't against great competition. I like the Panthers here. I like the way they've played as a team all year long. And this is a team, if they get this win and you get closer to getting Christian McCaffrey back, all of a sudden, Sam Teets, the Carolina Panthers could be a playoff contender.
Yeah, we could see three teams coming out of this NFC South. And really, we think about how these teams are trending at the moment. The Panthers are probably one of the hottest teams in this division because the Saints have had their difficulties and the Bucs have had their issues. Meanwhile, the Panthers, they're overachieving. They're kind of riding that high with a new head coach. This is probably the hottest team in the NFC South right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's much to say. I think, as we saw, the NFC South, all these teams have their warts right now. Of course, Michael Thomas coming back to the Saints may help that out a little bit. All right, let's look at what I think everybody thinks is the game of the week, because it includes the Cincinnati Bengals, who will travel to Indianapolis to play the Colts, Sam Teets.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, Mike, but unless Philip Rivers throws 3 to 4 interceptions, which is possible at this point, honestly, but unless he turns the ball over at a record pace, I don't see the Bengals pulling anything out here. I do agree Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. We have talked about this plenty times in the past. I think there's some hope Joe Mixon gets the running game going this week. But at the same time, the Colts have a more developed team. They have a better offensive line. I just have to go with the Colts here.
All right, so what you're telling me is there is a decent chance, though, because Philip Rivers has been known to do that.
I'm saying this is a decent chance. You have a shot to win this game. I think it's very close. I'm just taking the Colts by a little bit.
All right, Sam Young, do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that the Bengals offense definitely has the weapons to get it done offensively, but the only issue that they have is their line. And if you can't give Joe Burrow the time that he needs to do what he's got to do to get that pass game going, then I don't think that they have a shot at beating this Colts defense for sure.
Well, I think this. I think if you don't have an offensive line, you don't have any weapons, because I think football starts on the offensive front, the defensive front. The defensive front for the Colts includes, Justin Houston coming off the edge, DeForest Buckner in the middle. I don't think the Bengals will be able to run the ball. I think they'll be forced to throw the ball. I think that their coach, Zach Taylor, is in over his head. He doesn't deserve the job. He's proven that with a 3-17-1 record and a team that looks completely unprepared all the time. So I think, as always, the Bengals will lose. I think Joe Burrow may be able to keep the game relatively close, but in the end, I think the Colts beat the Bengals by 3 to 7 points. All right, next up, the Denver Broncos will take on the COVID Patriots. What do you think, Sam Young?
So Cam Newton is back, correct?
Yeah.
So they have that going for them, that Cam Newton is back and ready to play. I'm not a big fan of Cam Newton. However, we did see how the Patriots performed with their backup quarterbacks and what their team would have been like if they did not pick up Cam Newton. And it was kind of brutal to watch. I think that they definitely have a bigger advantage now that Cam Newton is back. However, the Broncos have had a pretty decent pass rushing this past week. So I would have to go with the Patriots on this one.
All right, Sam Teets. I think this is a blowout in the makings. I think it's like 37-10. I think the problem is this. The Patriots are at home against an inexperienced quarterback. That's a recipe for disaster for any inexperienced quarterback. And it doesn't matter who the quarterback is for the Broncos. They're going to be inexperienced, not to mention that they'll probably be down Melvin Gordon, who's probably still in the drunk tank. So when you look at this, I mean, this to me is going to be a complete butt kicking.
Yeah, I think there's a chance just from news base. I think Melvin Gordon's back at practice yesterday for the Broncos. I don't know if they'll actually let him play this week. And Drew Lock has potential he plays, but really, even if you add those two pieces in, it doesn't change the outcome of this game. New England's better coached. New England has more talent. Their defense is better. Their offense is better. I overestimated the Broncos entirely early in the offseason. I mean, like you've been making fun about this for maybe 3 or 4 weeks at this point. The Broncos are not a good team. They're not a well-coached team. There's no way they come close to winning this game.
All right, so my question to you, Sam Teets, is this. If you're the coach and Melvin Gordon is able to play, would you play him?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I understand that your point is to win games, but look at this. We talked about this with Michael Thomas a couple days ago. Michael Thomas got into a fight with a teammate, and you benched him for one game. It was a close game, too. It wasn't like this was just a give-me game. And if he did that and got benched for a punch, I mean, Melvin Gordon's a DUI. I think you have to set some precedent here by not letting him play.
Sam Young, would you let him play?
No, I wouldn't let him play. For the same reasons that Sam Teets pointed out.
And don't you think that you run the risk of losing your team even more in Denver if you do let him play, Sam Teets?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. I think they've already lost a team, honestly. I think they're already in the tank as far as that coaching staff goes. But really, I mean, letting Melvin Gordon play, you can't let guys get away with some of the kind of stuff like this. To me, there's got to be some level of accountability.
How can the NFL allow him to play? Because they are holier than thou now in the NFL.
Yeah, the NFL is a very interesting establishment. We've gone over this. The NFL has allowed players to play in situations where they really shouldn't have over the past couple of years, decades ago. So really, the NFL is not going to make the decision here. The NFL shouldn't be trusted to make the decision here. It should be left up. Well, the NFL should make the decision, but they won't do it. The coaching staff has to be relied on to make this call.
All right. Next up, the Detroit Lions at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I didn't think I'd ever say this year, but I think this is a game the Detroit Lions can't lose. I mean, Sam Young, you're looking at a Jaguars team that was beaten fairly good by the Texans, who were terrible. They were beaten up pretty good by the Bengals, who were terrible. Now, the Detroit Lions, I think, are slightly better than terrible, but not by much. But I think Detroit wins this game, and I think that Matt Stafford will have a huge game just because he's playing against the Jaguars, who have maybe the worst defensive pass rush in the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree. I think not only do they have the worst pass rush defensively, I think that they have the worst pass coverage too. They've let up tons of air yards against other teams, and then also offensively, they can't seem to get anything stirring up with their run game. They've relied heavily on the pass, and I don't think that they're going to be able to get it done. And I agree that Matthew Stafford is going to have a really good game this week for sure.
Well, I think when you talk about the inability to cover the pass, doesn't that kind of go hand in hand with the ability to get to the quarterback? Because let's face it, if you've got 4 seconds to throw the ball, no matter how good your secondary is, you're going to get beat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
So,
we've seen that basically the entire year for them. The only secondary I think is worse potentially in the NFL right now is maybe Atlanta's. So Jacksonville doesn't have much to stand on here. I think you look at Matt Stafford, Kenny Galladay is going to have a huge game. Galladay is basically a touchdown machine. I think he'll score 2 times at least. And even the running game is going to have options here to get out there. Maybe we'll actually see DeAndre Swift put up some yards this week. Maybe we'll see more of Adrian Peterson. Who knows? But I think there is going to be a chance for an offensive explosion from Detroit.
all right, next up, the Houston Texans will go to Tennessee to take on the Titans. This is one of those games, Sam Teets, that I always tell you about. The Titans are coming off a huge win, on Monday, Tuesday, whatever night they played on now. This is the perfect setup to have a letdown and lose a game.
Yeah, it's against Deshaun Watson, so there is really some potential on the other side here. There's a good quarterback. The coaching in Houston's always going to be like that. But really, there are some pieces on the other side. I'm not going to go against Tennessee here just because I think the Titans are a well-coached team. I understand they're not maybe a I mean, Mike Vrabel's kind of up in the air as a head coach still. I know he's a very good head coach. I just don't know if he's an elite one at this point. There's a chance for a letdown. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sticking with the Titans.
Sam Young?
Yeah, I would have to agree just because I don't think that they can stop Derrick Henry. I think that dude's a tank. And I think that even though we saw the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and that was a pretty crazy upset, I just don't see the Titans losing at this point. I can see how you would think that the Texans would have a chance for an upset, and even though they did come off of a good win, I still don't think that they're not well coached enough, and they don't have enough defense to stop the Titans offense.
All right. Remember this, though. The Chiefs, the week before they got upset by the Raiders, did what? They played on a Monday or Tuesday night, and they had a huge win against Baltimore, and then it fell apart when you come off that win. I'm going to take the Titans, but it's going to be like that one week, Sam. You know what I'm talking about, where you talk me
I know
out.
what you're saying.
I don't even remember what game it was, but I remember the same scenario, and I backed off of it. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. Next up, Washington at the New York Giants. This game is horrible. I don't want to see any part of this game. I don't even want to see a box score from the game. They should just cancel it altogether. The only big hope here is both teams get COVID and they can't play, Sam Young.
Yeah. Both of these teams are definitely a mess and a half. I do think that the one thing that the Washington football team has, oh my gosh, that name though. The Washington football team has for leverage is their pass rush. They have a really good pass rush, and we've seen that Daniel Jones is very prone to fumbling the football when he gets hit. So I think that there is a chance that their defensive line could get back there, and they could stir up some trouble for Jones, and he could potentially fumble it and in the hands of Washington for good field possession. I agree.
Well,
I definitely don't. I don't like either of these teams. I think both these teams are horrible, but I would have to go with the Washington football team to win this game.
All right. I think Daniel Jones is established. Even if you don't get a pass rush, he can turn the ball over. Sam Teets, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Washington. Because honestly, we don't have high hopes for Kyle Allen. We know that. But at the same point, Daniel Jones is worse than Kyle Allen, I have to say. He's worse than Kyle Allen because Kyle Allen, at the very least, can get hot and maybe have a good game where he doesn't turn the ball over. Daniel Jones, no matter what, is always going to turn the ball over. So to me, Washington, they have that defensive front. Their guys are healthy at this point. I think that'll make a huge difference. I know the Giants have a solid defense as well, but right now I just trust Kyle Allen more than Daniel Jones. That's not saying a lot. At the same point, it's enough for me to take Washington.
All right, I'm going to take the Giants. I think they're better coached. I know you like Ron Rivera, Sam Teets, but I'm not a big fan of Ron Rivera's. I like, what Joe Judge is doing in New York. I know they haven't won a game. I think they'll play hard. I think they'll get the win. Next up, the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins, Sam Teets.
Yeah, this is fairly one-sided to me. I'm picking the Dolphins. Even if Ryan Fitzpatrick has a bad game, I don't see any way that he could lose to Joe Flacco. Because I believe Joe Flacco is going to be the star for New York this week as Sam Darnold's still hurt. I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, you get rid of Le'Veon Bell this past week. There's so much wrong in New York right now. Coaching is so bad. I don't see how Adam Gase can win a football game for the rest of the year.
All right. Sam Young, you agree?
Yeah, I definitely think that the Jets will be lucky to even have one win this entire season. They're probably the worst team in the league right now and probably will stay that way. Even though they forced 3 turnovers, they still didn't win. So I think that they're going to lose.
All right. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I think the game may be closer to what y'all think. And it's the NFL. We've seen stranger things happen. But without Sam Darnold, I don't think there's much of a chance here. Next up, the undefeated Green Bay Packers will go to battle Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sam Young, I know you're a big Brady fan. Do you think he can upset the Packers?
I'm hoping that was sarcasm because I don't really like Tom Brady.
It was, but everybody should like Tom Brady. I'm just saying.
Well, everybody should, but they don't. I don't think that the Buccaneers are going to be able to stop the Packers. I think that everybody is saying that this is going to be the rivalry of the two of the two veteran quarterbacks. But I think what Tom Brady should be more worried about is the defense that they're going up against. And I don't think that the Packers are going to turn the ball over very much. I think that they have enough weapons offensively on the ground and in the air to get the job done. I think it could be a close game, but I still think that the Packers will win.
I'm going with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I think their defense is underrated, and I think their offense is finally looks like it may be healthier this week than what it has been. And we've seen this before. Tom Brady looks bad. His team gets beat. Everybody writes him off, and then the next week he's throwing 4 or 5 touchdown passes. Sam Teets. I'm going with the old man in this one, the older man.
No, I'm not writing Tom Brady off. He's still going to have a very good game. I think it'll be closer than what most people anticipate, but I'm taking Aaron Rodgers right now. He's the second best quarterback in the NFL behind Russell Wilson. Tom Brady, he could have a 5-touchdown game, but honestly, Aaron Rodgers could still win that matchup. The Packers are that good. Defensively, they're underrated as well. I know Tampa Bay doesn't get enough credit, but the Packers have been good this year as well. Jair Alexander is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I think the Packers have enough to at least neutralize or slow down Tampa Bay's offense, and they're not going to be stopped the other way.
I feel like you're attacking me.
Oh, you're feeling personally attacked here, Mike? I would never do that.
Not really, because I just find it amusing that you're both going to be wrong in this game.
Look, this is one of those rare instances where I get to make a pick against you, and if I'm right, it's great, and if I'm wrong, I'll hear about it for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and how many times has it been great? And how many times have you heard about it for the rest of the season?
I've heard about it every time, but really,
thank you.
Is there a chance? I'm gonna keep showing up here. I'm gonna keep trying to get you here, Mike.
Yeah, it won't work. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. Sam Young, who do you like?
I'm not I don't really like the Rams just because I'm a Seattle fan, but I think that the 49ers are going to continue to not do so hot. I don't think that they're going to start Garoppolo just because they pulled him out halfway through their last game, not only because of the turnovers, but because they said that they wanted to make sure that he stayed healthy because they could tell that he was still obviously injured. I'm going to have to go with the Rams. Now, I do think that this game could be close, but I think that the Rams will win this game for sure.
All right. I don't think the game's going to be close. I think you're looking at something like 35-13. I think Aaron Donald screaming up the middle, wrecking that offense. I don't think there's any chance here for the 49ers, Sam Young or Sam Teets.
No, I don't think so either. The Rams so far have been a very good, well-oiled team. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the NFL probably right now. I have no qualms about saying that. I know the Seahawks are probably a better team just because of Russell Wilson. But the Rams, I really like them so far. I never thought I'd be saying that going into this year. I thought they were turning in the wrong direction. But really, they are a very good team. And the 49ers, they've been horrible so far. The 49ers, even if they get healthy, I would still think the Rams this year would beat the 49ers.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll pick the Monday games since we got Sam here. Sam Teets, Chiefs at Bills.
Yeah, you might not like this. I'm sticking with the Chiefs, though. I know you love Josh Allen. You love the Buffalo Bills, but I'm sticking with Kansas City here. Patrick Mahomes is not going to lose 2 games in a row.
And they've got really cool uniforms.
Who, the Chiefs or the Bills?
The Bills. That's why I like them. I've always liked them, even since I was a little kid.
Huh. Well, that's fair. In that case, I'll pick the Bills. No, I'm kidding. Of course I'm sticking with the Chiefs here still. I don't care about the uniforms whatsoever, Mike. I think the Chiefs are going to go out there, and they're going to win by 2 scores.
All right, Sam Young, don't you think the Buffalo Bills have some really sweet uniforms?
I'm not really sure. I don't think I agree with that. Maybe
Really?
their color rush jerseys are cool, but I don't.
Mike probably hates the color rush jerseys.
I do. I hate anything that's new. I only like old stuff. So their uniforms look a lot like they did in the 70s and 80s when I was a wee little kid. So that's what I like. The new uniforms are ugly. The Seahawks uniforms suck. They should go back to what they used to be. The New England Patriots, they're supposed to be a little Minuteman with a gun or a musket on the helmet. And I don't like the new Patriots helmet. There's no uniforms that I like new compared to what they used to be.
Well, they have to keep changing stuff for relevancy to not hurt people's feelings, like how we had to change the Washington Redskins to the Washington football team.
Oh, did you say Redskins? YouTube will ban us now.
Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. Shoot.
Jeez.
Well,
you can't say shoot either.
Oh, dang it.
I know. We're running out of things we can say or do now.
Right.
Wait, what were we doing? Oh, we're picking the Chiefs and the Bills. So which team do you think has the better jerseys?
I think the Chiefs not only have the better jerseys, but I think that they have the better all-around football team. I think personally that the Bills have been underperforming defensively, and the Kansas City Chiefs have way too many weapons, and now they've picked up Le'Veon Bell. So I don't know how much they're actually going to use him. Or how relevant he's going to be to the league now. He's honestly become kind of a meme now, just getting dropped and traded all the time. But I think that the Chiefs will win this game. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to want to lose 2 games in a row. I don't think that
So do you think Josh Allen will want to lose 2 games in a row?
I don't think anybody wants to lose 2 games in a row, but I think that the Chiefs have an all-around better team. I think that they'll only have 1 or 2 losses of the year, and I don't think that they're going to lose to the Bills.
All right, the interesting thing coming into this game, I think, Sam Teets, the most interesting thing to me is both teams just played horrible football games and lost. And the game's going to be about – I think the Bills win the game. I think the Bills have the better coach. And I think the quarterbacks are very similar. I think the Bills are going to play better on defense. I think the Chiefs are going to have a hard time stopping the run. And I think Le'Veon Bell is like just adding a cancer to your family. I don't know why Andy Reid would want Le'Veon Bell.
I don't know why anyone would want Le'Veon Bell, honestly.
No, the only guy I could see you wanting less than Le'Veon Bell would be Antonio Brown. Unless, of course, Bill Belichick and the Patriots pick him up, because then he'll be great.
Yeah, that's a genius move if they do that. Mm-hmm. But really, I think that the Bills have a probably better defense right now than Kansas City does. At the same point, I'm going with the Super Bowl MVP right now. I'm going Patrick Mahomes. I've seen him do it for an entire year. I've seen him do it for 2 years. Josh Allen, I've seen him come out and do it for 5 weeks, 4 weeks, because he didn't play well last week. So really,
such a hater.
I'm just saying he has to prove it to me for an entire year. What do you want me to do? I've seen Patrick. You're asking me to disregard Patrick Mahomes, who's done it for 2 years.
That's why I got Allen's done for 4 weeks. Young on the show to balance your negativity. You're negative about everything, Sam Teets.
I don't know what you want from me here, Mike. I'm just saying I'm hyped. No, I'm positive about Patrick Mahomes. I'm being positive about Kansas City and their outlook for the year.
All right, but Andy Reid not going to be able to coach the game because he fogs up his little visor thing. And won't be able to see
I knew that was going to come up. Yep.
You know what that is? That's because he's stuffing hot dogs in his mouth when the camera's not looking, and that's what's steaming that up. Nobody else's steams up, if you notice, just the fat guys. Can I say fat guys? Is that offensive?
Just remember what you said in practice. It just can't be big fat. It can only be fat. Remember when we were talking about
like fat 6.
Right. Like big fat number 6, right.
No, you can't say big fat number 6.
You can't say that.
Yeah. All right. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals will travel to Dallas to take on the Andy Dalton-led Dallas Cowboys. And now, when I say Dallas Cowboys, I actually like them, Sam Young, because they got Andy Dalton.
Is that biased just because he was a Bengals quarterback, or?
No, it's because he has red hair, and I've always favored players with red hair.
Oh, well, then I guess it's a good thing I'm strawberry blonde then.
Strawberry blonde? You actually call yourself strawberry blonde?
No, I don't.
You need a surfboard.
No, I think David Wells needs a surfboard.
And see, nobody knows who David Wells is watching this show.
You know who David Wells is.
Yeah, but he doesn't have red hair. You do. I don't care. Strawberry blonde is red hair, correct, Sam Teets?
I would assume. Yeah, I've never heard someone call himself strawberry blonde before, so I really
not unless they were a woman.
Oh my God! At least I think there's other people that that look more of a woman than I do. So
yeah, but they're usually women. So who are you picking? Cardinals or Cowboys?
I'm picking the Cowboys.
Ooh, he's picking the Cowboys. I know Sam Teets isn't going to agree with that because he's in love with Kyler Murray.
Oh,
I have the Cowboys here.
What was that, Sam Teets?
I picked the Cowboys for this game. I'm over the Arizona thing. I made it quite clear 2 weeks ago. I'm done with Kyler Murray. I'm done picking Arizona. They're not going to win this game.
You do know the Cowboys had maybe the worst defense in the NFL, but I'm going with the Cowboys because they've got Andy Dalton. And if you've got Andy Dalton, what more could you ask for?
A winning record.
Well, that's because they do with Andy Dalton. They're 1-0.
That's true. Actually, yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right. Any other NFL news you want to discuss, Sam Teets?
No, I covered just about everything. It's all been COVID this morning.
All right. Sam Young, you want to discuss anything before we get off here?
No, I didn't have anything in mind.
Anything at all? Anything you want to talk about? You want to tell the general public?
This is your guys' show. I'm just along for the ride.
If you have anything you want to bring up right now, just get it off your chest.
I have nothing more to say.
All right. Sam Young has nothing more to say. We will have the results on Monday. Hopefully, Sam Teets doesn't get beaten again. What'll that be? 6 or 7 weeks in a row, Sam Teets?
Yeah, but we're not even through 6 weeks yet. What are you talking about? What week is this? This is week 6?
Yeah, so it'll be 6. It'll be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. We agree. All right, guys, I want to remind everybody you can hear us live every day at 1 o'clock Eastern on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, Periscope. On the podcast forum, you can hear us around 2 or 3 o'clock every day. Same show. It's just a podcast forum. You can hear that on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, over 300 different outlets worldwide. So, Sam Teets, you can follow at SamTeets33. You can follow me at Grilling Truth. Sam Young, do you have a Twitter account?
I do not have a Twitter account.
Huh. Why not?
Just don't care to have one.
That smells kind of fishy, doesn't it, Sam Teets?
Yeah, it really does. What are you hiding, Sam Young?
What am I hiding? I'm not hiding anything.
All right. Well, he's doing a good job of it because he doesn't have Twitter. And he would be banned anyways from his political opinions. So he would probably been taken down yesterday like most of us were. But I want to remind everybody, Monday at 1 o'clock, we'll be back to recap all the games. So for now, for Sam Young, Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.